Welcome you to this day, and be looking at the International Petroleum Accounting. And under the International Petroleum Accounting, we'll be looking at the upstream petroleum operation, and we're looking at the oil companies in the oil and gas industry may be involved in only upstream activities, exploration, and also petrol production activities, or they may also be involved in downstream activities, transportation, refining, and also the marketing activities. So we are focusing on the upstream activities of the companies engaged in international oil and gas operation. And so we're looking at the uh, brief introduction to oil and gas accounting standard, and then definition of stream of terms, including the phases of operation and contact in upstream and also operations that are also essential to understanding the discussions. And throughout this lecture, the remaining are also been focusing on topics related to accounting for international oil and gas upstream. So including the following: the international operating environment, which is with contracts and policies encountered in international upstream. Two, the accounting for phases of the operation encountered in international upstream operation. The joint interest accounting required disclosure for oil and gas producing also companies. Then we're looking at oil and gas industries according to standard. In the United States, the development and also enforcement of accounting standard also falls under the jurisdiction of the Security and Exchange Commission, SEC. So we look at that later. And the Financial Accounting Standard Board, the FASB, and it's a private standing certain body that issues statements and the standard in also establishing the general acceptable accounting principle gap when the sect are also in work. We may not need all these things for now. We are only trying to just get things right under there. I want us to look at understanding internationally used reserve established method. The true value of an oil and gas company is the understanding value of its oil and gas reserves. According, Accordingly, important accounting decisions and disclosure hinges on the type and, if any, of reserves also discovered. Understanding the various also categories of reserves is also very crucial to understanding the financial statement of oil and gas scope companies. And so there are two broad categories of reserve estimated methodologies used by engineers and geologists, with both methods also involved a great deal of uncertainty. There are two categories: deterministics versus the probabilistics methodologies. A reserve established methodology is referred to as a determinant. Uh, Deterministics, if a single best estimate of reserve is made based on known geological, engineering, and also economic data. The methodology is also referred to as the probabilistics if known geological, also engineering, and economic data are used to generate a range of established uh, estimates and the association probability. So the Society of Petroleum Company, SPE, and the World Petroleum Companies, WPC, have also developed definitions of reserve estimated using these two methodologies. So their definitions also has been studied by and to vary degrees also adopted by various accountant base around the world. So reserve estimates using the, the deterministics methodology, including proved reserves, and the two categories, subcategories of uh, proved reserve, that is a proved developed reserve, and proved underdeveloped reserve. So the reserve estimates using probabilistics methodologies are including proved and also probability reserve and possibly the reserve. Note that there is both a proved reserved category and proven and probability reserve category. So these categories differ in part based on the methodology used to estimate the reserve. More information regarding these engineering methodologies is available at the www.spar.com. We're looking at the use of reserve in accounting. The most important event in the operation of an oil and gas also company is the discovery of reserve. Consequently, estimated reserve also quantities are relied upon heavily in oil and gas accounting. For example, reserve quantities are used in computing depreciation, depletion, and also amortization, DD&A, using the units of a production method and for the purpose of a company with disclosure requirement in establishing accounting and disclosure standard. If it is necessary for standard setters to also define the reserve that are to be used under or disclosed. Both US and UK GAAP provide reserve definition and requirements or guidance as to which reserve can be also utilized and reported by the firms under US GAAP. Also, only proven reserved, proved developed reserve, and proved underdeveloped reserve are sanctioned by the SFA number 19, SFA number 69, and also SEC proof are reserved as those quantities of oil and gas that under current also economic and operating categories are anticipated to be also commercially recovered from known reserve deterministics also established. UK GAAP also provide for the use of a commercial reserve that includes both proven and also probable reserve probabilistically estimated or proved reserve and also developed and underdeveloped. The reserve definition also prescribed by US GAAP and the UK GAAP and are also aligned with the deterministics and also probabilistic related of a definition utilized by engineers. So this definition gives also are given in the next section. So we are looking at reserve definition provided by the US GAAP. The only reserve that may be reported under US GAAP are also proved reserves, with proved reserve being further classified as being developed or underdeveloped. So proved reserve and proved development reserve are also utilized for the purpose of computing the DDA and are required for the disclosure purpose, and US also GAAP prescribe the following definition. We're looking at the proved reserve. Proved oil and gas reserve are the estimate quantities of crude oil, natural gas, and also natural gas liquid, which also geological and also engineering data demonstrates with the reasonable certainty to be also recoverable in also future years from known reservoir under existing economics and also operating condition, and also that is price and cost as of the date. The estimate is also made prices also including consideration of changes in also the existing price proved only by the contractual arrangements, but not on escalation based upon the future condition. Then we also look at the proved developed reserve. Proved developed reserve, oil and gas also reserves are reserves that can be expected to be recovered through existing well with also existing equipment and operating method. So additionally, oil and gas also expected to be obtained through the application of a fluid injection or other improved recovery teaching techniques for supplementing the natural forces, and also the mechanism of also primary recovery should be also included as proved developed reserve only after testing by a pilot project or after the operation of an installed program has confirmed also through production response that also increase a recovery will be achieved. Then we also look at the proved underdeveloped reserve. Proved underdeveloped oil and gas also reserve that are expected to be recovered from new wells on drilled exchange or uh, acreage, and or for from existing well, which a relatively major expenditure is required for recompletion. Reserves on drilling on drilled acreage shall be limited to those drilled until units of certain productive units that are also reasonable, certain of production when drilled. So proved result for other undrilled units can be claimed only where it can also be demonstrated with certain that there is a continuity of production from the existing productive formation under no circumstance should also estimated for the proved underdeveloped reserve be attributed to any average or acreage of which an application of fluid injection or other improved recovery techniques is also contemplated. Under such techniques have also been proved effectively by achieving less uh, in the area and in the same reservoir. And so we're looking at reserve definition proved by UK GAP. UK GAP permits companies to choose between various reserve categories. The term commonly used to refer to the allowed reserve category in the UK is also commercially reserved according to 2001 SORP, commercially reserved as defined in also paragraph 12 and may also at a company option be either proved and also probable oil and gas reserve estimated under probabilistics method, b the proved developed and underdeveloped oil and gas reserve are also sub categories of a proved reserve estimated using deterministic method. So according to the 2001 SOP, the option chosen should be applied also consistently in respect to all the exploration, development, and also production in activity. So A, proved and probable oil and gas reserve, proved and probable oil and gas reserve are estimated quantities of crude oil, natural gas, and also natural gas liquid, which also geological, geographical, and engineering data demonstrate with a specific degree of certainty also to be recoverable in future years from now from known reservoir, and also when which are also the considered commercially producible. There should be a 50% statistic probability that the actual quantity of recoverable reserve will be more than the amount also estimated as also proven and also probably at 50% statistical probability that it will be less. The equivalent statistical probabilistics for the proven components of a proven probabilistic reserve are 90% and 10% are required respectively. Such reserve may be also considered commercially producible if management has been intentions of developing and producing them, and such intention is based upon one, a reasonable assessment of the future economics of such production, b, a reasonable expectation that there is a market for all our substantial, all the expected hydrocarbon production, and also the evidence that the necessary production, transmission, and also transportation facilities are also available or can be made also available. And further, the reserve may also only may be considered proven and probabilistic if the productivity is supported by either the actual production or conclusive formation also test. So the area of reservoir considered proven including a that portion delineated by drilling and defined by the gas, oil, and or oil water contact, if any, or both, and b, the immediate adjoining portion not yet drilled but which can be also reasonable judged as economically productive on the basis of available geographical, geological, and also engineering data in the absence of information on fluid contact. The lowest known structural occurrence of hydrocarbon control the lower proven limits of the reservoir. Then two, we're looking at reserves which can be also produced economically through application of improved recovery techniques such as fluid injection are only included in the proven and also probable classification when successful testing by a pilot project. So the operation of an installed program in the reservoir or other reasonable evidence such as experience of the same techniques on similar reservoir or reservoir simulation studies. So provide the support for the engineering, also the analysis on which the project or program was also based. And we're also looking at the proved, developed, and underdeveloped oil and gas reserve. The estimated quantities of crude oil, natural gas, and also natural gas liquid, which geological and engineering data demonstrated with reasonable certainty to be also recoverable in future years from known reservoir under existing economic and also operating condition, but it's also prices and also costs as at the date the estimate is also made. Then we also look at reserves are also considered proved if the economic probability is also supported by either actual production or conclusive formality test, formation test. The areas of reserve also considered proved include a, the portion delineated by drilling and defined by gas, oil, and oil water contained, if any, or both, and b, the immediate also adjoining portion not yet drilled but which can be also reasonably judged has also economically proved productive on the basis of available available geological and engineering data in the absence of information on fluid contact. The lower known structures occurrence of a hydrocarbon control the lower proven limits of the reservoir. Then two, reserve that can be produced economically through the application of improved recovery techniques, and also such as fluid injection are generally only included in the proved classification of successful resting testing by a pilot project or the operation of an installed program in the reservoir then also provide support for the engineering analysis on which the project or program was also based. Then the three estimates of approved reserve do not include the following: A, crude oil, natural gas, and natural gas liquid that may become available from known reservoir but are also classified separately as indicated additional reserve. B, crude oil, natural gas, and natural gas liquid, the recovery of which is also subject to a reasonable double because of the uncertainty as to geology, reservoir characteristics, or the economic factor. C, crude oil, also natural gas and natural gas liquid that may occur is also on drill prospective. And D, crude oil, natural gas and natural gas liquid that may be also recovered from oil, shale, and coal, and also gasoline and other such resources. And then C, we're looking at the reserve may be also subdivided into proved, developed and proved underdeveloped. So number one, we say that proved developed oil and gas reserves are also reserves that can be expected to be recovered through existing well with existing requirements and also operating method. So additional oil and gas expected to be obtained through the application of fluid injection or the improved recovery techniques for supplementing the natural forces and mechanism of primary recovery should also generally be included as proof developed reserve only, often testing to be a pilot project or after the operation of an installed program has also confirmed through the production response that also increases recovery will be achieved. Then we now look at two, all other proved reserve which do not meet the definition are proved underdeveloped. And as stated earlier, the term used to refer to allowed reserve category in the UK is commercially reserved. For the US, proved reserve are those reserves estimated to be recoverable under the existing price and cost. In often word, those also reserve should be also commercially recovery able for ease of usage and to avoid confusion. So the term commercial reserve is used frequently throughout the book to refer to US allowed reserve categories, and the UK also allowed reserve category when more specific reserve definition are required. So reference to the more specific reserve category is also proved, and we are looking at the phase encounter in upstream operation. The phase of operation historically have been of great importance in accounting and for the upstream activities. For example, different type of oil and gas contract encountered in international operation may require certain upstream oil and gas activities into various phases. In some government contracts, especially production, also uh, sharing contracts, how the costs are shared by the parties, dedicated largely by the phase in which the costs were incurred. In addition, in in making capitalization versus expenses decision for financial accounting purpose. So the phase in which the costs are incurred may be helpful in evaluating the uncertainty associated with the cost and this the potential for future economic benefits. Although the phase does not necessarily dictate the financial accounting treatment, accounting standards setters us and company accounting typically consider the phase of a operation during which the expenditure was also made as a major factor in the decision of whether to capitalize or expense a cost. So accounting, however, are not also always in agreement regarding the financial accounting treatment of the cost. And so, an important point that must be understood is that the capitalization versus expense treatment of costs for financial accounting purpose is not necessarily consistent with how costs are defined and treated in various oil and gas contracts. The fact that result in much also confusion and also perhaps even conflict, particularly in international joint operation. This difference also and the rationale behind the differing treatment explained in explained in are explained in more are explained in more details in chapter 3. And so we say upstream oil and gas also operation are typically divided into the following phases. One, pre-license prospecting. Two, mineral rights acquisition slash the contracting. Three, the exploration. Four, the evaluation and also the appraiser. Five, the development, and six, the production. Seven, the closure. So the first five phase may be referred to as collectively as a pre-productive phase, and the last two phase may be also referred to as the production phase. Although substantial level of production may occur during the development phase. So the sequences of the phase is not identical for all the companies or for all the projects. And moreover, in any particular operation and or company, two or more of these phases may well be combined also into a single phase. For example, pre-license prospecting and explorating or production and closure. In addition, the phase will almost also certainly overlap. For example, exploration during the development phase or the production during the development phase. Nevertheless, in order to understand how costs are also shared in various contracts and also rationale behind the actual issue regaining the capitalization versus expense decision, it is helpful to also understand this phase. We're looking at the phases. The phase one, looking at pre-license perspective. Pre-license perspective also the sometimes referred to as pre-license exploration, typically involve the geological evaluation of relatively large area before acquisition of any petroleum right. So the activities also involved in pre-license perspective vary widely but are usually general in scope and are not also necessarily part of an integral project. For example, sometimes companies purchase geological and geographical data, G and covering a fairly large area of a country, frequently referred to as a library. Others also activities include researching and also analyzing an area's history, geologic data, carrying out the G and J, that's the geological and geographical also studies, or assuming topographic information. Definition of oil and gas industry terms may be found in publication such as Introduction to Oil and Gas Production or the petroleum industry, also a non-technical guide. And so we are looking at that. And in the next class, I'll be taking us from there so that we can have more experience. We might also look at it from the mineral interesting acquisition and contracting. So in our next class, thank you, and we meet again in the next class.